Now, I appreciate life is hard for everyone. At the moment, a lot of people are struggling. Statistically speaking, I think 70% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. No one's able to save. If there's a disaster, the boiler breaks, the roof leaks, the computer crashes and burns, and you're not going to be able to afford another one. It's going to be a real struggle, and I think a lot of us are in that position. Certainly, I'm struggling. I've been struggling for a long time, and a lot of my struggle, if I really dig deep and I try and figure out the reason why, I keep coming back to this idea of neuroticism. It's not the economy, it's not other people's fault, it's not my friends, family or people around me. It is literally me. I am the problem. And as individuals, we all are the problem. If there is a problem, we all have to take responsibility for ourselves, and that should always be the first port of call. And I'm not saying that there aren't problems with the government, with the economy, with society, with systems in place that keep us down. I mean, yeah, you could completely tweak the dials on all those things, and more of us would be thriving right now than are actually struggling. But we don't have access to that. We can't change that. We're kind of working with what we've got. We're playing the game that we've been put in front of, and that's all we can do. So I'm just going to talk from my own personal experience, and I'm going to sort of talk about this whole idea of it being hard times. So basically, I've lost my job. My last video was titled something like, I've got a job. It lasted about a week and a half, and then I lost it. So what the fuck happened? So basically, I've been working as a freelance artist, designer and illustrator, and I've been putting out artwork related products for decades. I'd never made it as a full-time career. It'd always been a part-time endeavour. I'd always wanted it to become full-time, but it's a tough sell. Trying to sell artwork is difficult. And although, I sold 4,000 pieces of art over the course of my lifetime, and despite having published books teaching other people how to create art and, selling close to 1 million copies, and those copies being sold globally, translated into several languages, it all sounds good on paper, but I was never allowed, making sufficient money to survive on any of those endeavours. I was forced to stay, for the most part, living with my parents or couch surfing, that kind of thing. Like, the life of an artist is true when they say, oh, so you're a starving artist then. That trope certainly was true for me. And there's a few reasons for that, which I won't go into, but suffice to say, I did what they say to do. I followed my passion, and it didn't work, not in a financial sense. And because of the finances being putting so much stress and strain on me as an individual, just life in general became shit. Like, it's all good and well saying, oh, well, at least you're doing a job you love, but honestly, if you're struggling to survive day to day, and you've got so many financial worries, in the forefront of your mind there are 10 things that need fixing, that need repairing, that need resolving, and they all require money. It's hard to just focus on the art, and no matter what people say. And I'm not massively materialistic, but yeah, it's tough times. So anyway, the whole art thing, it went from bad to worse, and then I panicked, and I realised I needed to get a job. And I would do the thing of catering my CV to certain jobs. I didn't want to just do 100 job applications a day with some generic CV, because I thought, the numbers game isn't going to work. You need to tailor every single application to the job you're applying for, to put you in the best possible chance of potentially getting a job. So I would do that. I would spend maybe 3 to 4 hours on every resume, every CV that I would craft, with cover letters and stuff like that. And I always thought, I'm doing a pretty good job here. I feel like it's a very well articulated, well put together CV that represents me as a person. It's it comes across as me being someone who's very competent in what they do, perhaps more competent than I actually am, but hey, you're supposed to sell yourself on these things. And I never bullshit, I never lied, I never pretended that I'd achieved anything that I hadn't. My achievements, like I say, with the books and the artwork sold, to some people that's very impressive, and that would sound perhaps like bullshit. It's not, it's just fact. I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting the types of jobs that would best suit me, my personality, or my experience. So then I started applying for, I guess you could say, shit jobs. The jobs that there's always vacancies for, and that most people in an ideal world probably wouldn't choose to do. And I thought, given my high neuroticism, my sensitivity to stress, perhaps it wouldn't be such a bad idea to do sort of like a low thinky job. Now I can drive a car, so I thought, right, delivery driving. I applied for pizza delivery jobs. Funnily enough, the first, I think, 4 that I applied for, I couldn't get. And this is despite having a little bit of pizza delivery experience in my past. I'd delivered pizzas and worked in a pizza place for a couple of years. So it wasn't like I was even coming to this completely fresh. And they said no experience necessary, but it's like, no, I have experience, don't you worry about that. I've been driving a vehicle for over 20 years, so, I have no convictions or penalty points. It's a full, complete, clean driving license. Like, there wasn't any reason why I couldn't get these sort of jobs. I mean, there are certain reasons which I won't go into, but on the paper at least, nothing was happening. Eventually, I did get a local pizza place asked me to do a shift, test it out, see if I liked it. I was like, yeah, I'm happy to do this. Spoke to the guy who ran the business. I said, look, I'm ideally looking for part-time work so I can still do my artistic endeavours to some degree, but I also want 15 to 20 hours of driving work if possible. So that was my requirement. It wasn't a lot, and I said, if you can give me that, I'll always be on time to work. I'll never be late. I always do what I say I'll do, and I'll do the job well. I'll do it efficiently. So I knew that I could do that. The guy seemed very sympathetic to my plight, and he said, yeah, okay, no problem. I'll get you your sort of 20 hours if that's what you need. So I did my first shift. The next week, I did. I think 13 and a half hours total, which was close to the 15. I was like, okay, that's fine. Happy to continue doing this. The next week, I was calling up saying, oh, do you have any shifts for me? And, the manager, he wasn't picking up the phone. And I'd call again. I'd text him. Eventually, I'd get a text message back saying, oh, no, we don't have any shifts for you this week. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you sort of indicated that I would be getting not only shifts, but this 15 to 20 hours, which, we had agreed that would be doable for me. So yeah, I just didn't have any work. He said, oh, and I thought, oh, maybe he just forgot to put me on the rota. He said, oh, maybe at the end of the week, I'll let you know if I've got something for you. He didn't let me know, so I called him up and I said, have you got anything for me? Is there a shift I can work, on a Thursday, Friday? He was like, no, nothing for you this week. And I said, okay, well, next week I'll be extra available. Could you put me down for a day next week? He was like, yeah, no problem. Next week came. I didn't get any notification of if I had any shifts or not. Again, the same thing happened. I'm calling up, not getting anywhere. Eventually, again, a text message back saying, I haven't got any shifts for you. So 2 weeks on the trot, 0 hours in the bank. I can't afford to do this. Again, I was told perhaps shifts at the end of the week. I was not notified of any shifts at the end of the week. So, yeah, it's the end of the week now, pretty much. And that's it. I mean, what am I supposed to do moving forward? I'm obviously, I'm obviously being treated like shit here, whereby, you basically, you apply for a job because you want to work and you want to provide a service, and you obviously, over everything, you want to get paid, and you want to get paid because you need to get paid. You've got bills that need paying and stuff. So yeah, I wasn't getting anywhere, and I don't it's really weird because I haven't signed like a contract or anything yet, and the way that the whole job has been sort of managed, or should I say mismanaged, has been quite difficult. There's no training sort of given it, and I'm reasonably smart. I'm reasonably what's the word, like intuitive or whatever. I can pick things up, use my own initiative, and figure out what I'm doing based on what I see the other delivery drivers doing, stuff like that. So I'm not someone that needs their hand held with these kinds of things anyway. But it's very apparent to me that it was a very very loose kind of job, and this was in a very well-known large chain of delivery. This wasn't like a little independent store. This was a franchise built on the back of a a very well-known large pizza place. Anyway, so yeah, moving forward, I don't know if I'm working there or not. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. So one thing I did do is I applied for another well-known pizza delivery chain, again a franchise, a little bit further away. Now this one that's a bit further away, instead of a 15-minute drive to work, it's now a 30-minute drive to work. So, given the nature of the job, I didn't really want to have to do like an hour round trip commute to work. I wouldn't mind doing that, but I'm earning minimum wage here, and the money that you make for, in addition for trips, it barely covers your fuel. And over the long term, I feel confident that, I'm going to have to obviously replace tyres on my vehicle more often. There's going to be more wear and tear on, like the suspension and just the general engine. It's messing my car up, and it's going to cost, if I'd normally spend, I don't know, let's just say £3,000 every 5 years on fixing problems with my car, that might potentially go up to £6,000 every 3 to 5 years. So, when you factor that in, you start to realise that, you are earning significantly less than minimum wage when you're having to use your own transport to do the job itself. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But anyway, applied for this other job. They said that I'd be doing a trial shift today, even though I said it's a Saturday. I said I can't work Saturdays, and he said, yeah, you're coming in and doing trial shift today. And I said, well, I'll do the trial shift, but as long as this isn't going to be a regular thing. I can already tell they don't really give a shit. I kind of get the impression they're going to start trying to force me to work Saturdays, despite having told them not to. And you could argue, well, if you need the money, you just have to work whatever. If they want you to clean the toilet with your tongue, then you clean the toilet with your tongue, because that's what they want of you. But no, I think you should have some integrity, and you should stick to what you want or what you need. And, given the fact that it's a shit job earning shit money, you don't want to sell your soul for it. Like, I had to sign a contract with the latest one, which was good. At least there's some sort of paperwork, there's some sort of officialness to it. And a lot of it was basically saying, like, you're not allowed to work any other job other than for us. And I said, I'm not doing that. I want to still continue to work, self-employed with the art stuff. Like, I'm not giving up everything in service of this company that I know ultimately don't give a shit about me as an individual. So anyway, we talked about it, and they said, oh, okay, that's fine. But yeah, there was just a few things in there where it's like, you really want me to sell my soul and give everything I have for this shit job? I mean, it is shit. Like, if I didn't just want 15 to 20 hours in it, if I was working at this job full time, if that was even a possibility, because it's a 0-hour contract, it basically means I get no sick pay, holiday pay, no guarantees of any shift or any work, like the last one, which, even though there wasn't the contract in place, but yeah, there's no benefits to this job. It's a crap job, and I don't want to sound like I'm overly critical, because at least at the end of the day, I've applied for dozens and dozens of jobs over the last few months, and finally I've got someone that would give me some work. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that there is at least some opportunity, and I'm not literally living in a world where there is zero opportunity, zero hope. No one would ever give me a job to do fuck all, to do anything. I've got something here, but yeah. So that's where I'm at. So I basically lost my first, I had a job for about a week, effectively seemed to have lost it, but I don't know what's happening. Like I say, the manager's not picking up the phone, not answering me. Still owes me he's paid me some money for the work I did. He still owes me part of the money that I haven't been paid. And I'm just like, look, I'm in my 40s now. I haven't got time to be fucked around like this. It pisses me off when I'm just like, give me the opportunity, give me the chance, and I guarantee I'll prove to you that, I'll be good at this job. I'm not going to fuck around. I'm not going to get drunk the night before and come into work, hungover or stoned or whatever. Like, look, I'm just going to do the job. You know, I'm going to deliver the pizzas. I'm going to be polite to the customers. Be friendly and cordial with my co-workers. But yeah, it's been difficult. So yeah, I stopped getting shifts. I've been messed around, and you know, potentially I now have another job to go. You know, which I sort of could fall into. So yeah, I didn't have a job. Then I got a job, and then a week later I lost the job. And then I got another job. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Anyway, I'm just thinking about this whole idea of sort of moving forward, given that, you know, I'm neurotic. I'm highly neurotic. I'm, you know, according to one personality test, I'm in the 98th percentile of neuroticism. That's to say, in a room of 100 people, there'd only be me and a couple of others, perhaps, that are as anxious and stress sensitive as I am, which creates a lot of problems. And you know, I think that's why I'm so wound up over, well, not just that, but in part that's why I'm so wound up having to deal with the first pizza company manager, just basically, you know, ignoring me, messing me around, or basically lying to me. It really stressed me the hell out, because I like to know, you know, I want some security. I want to know where I stand. I want to know roughly how many hours I'm going to be working, so that I can then factor that into my life, because, you know, there's bills to pay and I need to know that I can pay them moving forward. So yeah, sorry if this sounds like a massive complaint, because I know everyone's got problems. Everyone's finding it difficult at the moment. But it's just difficult when you've spent a lot of your life working towards being good at something, being competent at something. You know, you've refined a lot of skills while everyone else was perhaps, you know, being lazy, scrolling social media, playing video games, watching TV, whatever the hell they were doing. You know, I was hard at work, you know, either trying to, you know, create a business that worked to try and improve my skill with my artwork. Or, you know, when I do get a job, I'm completely on it and I'm 100% committed. And I always believe in doing the best job I can do. You know, I don't, like I say, I don't turn up late. I don't think this is a shit job, so I'm just going to be lazy and do the bare minimum. You know, if I'm at work, I won't just stand around. I'll be like, okay, there's 5 minutes where I'm not delivering pizzas. Would you like me to just, I don't know, make up some pizza boxes or something? I'm happy to do that. So it's difficult when you're in that position where you're hardworking and you're willing to do a good job, and you know you'll do a good job, but the world seems to be treating you like you're just a piece of shit, not worth anything. And then you do find, when you go out into the world and you have to, I don't know, talk to some cashier at a supermarket or something, and, you know, they're not very friendly. They don't smile at you. They, you know, they don't treat your items that you've put on in front of them in a very respectful way. You know, or just other delivery drivers. You know, the amount of delivery drivers that I've had locally where they literally just throw the packages, even if it's a delicate package, over the gate onto the hard, cold concrete floor, damaging the goods, instead of just coming up to the front door and, you know, saying hello, here's your package. It's a mixture. Some delivery drivers have been really good. I'd say 30 to 40% of them have been an absolute disgrace, if I'm honest. And my point is, it makes you wonder how the hell they ever got a job. And then in contrast, when you're one who's struggling to get a job, when you know that even if you did their job, you would do it better than they would, you know, it just gets very frustrating. You know, because that's the thing, I get it. People get stressed, people have bad days, and you don't want to lord everything over them, you know, every time. You know, people are going to make mistakes. But equally, I don't want people using that as an excuse. When I've had shitty jobs, you know, I used to spent years working in a pizza place, making pizzas and also delivering. And I would have a bad day. I'd be feeling really fucking depressed. But if customers came up, ordered a pizza, I didn't take it out on them. You know, I just thought, no, you bottle this shit up. You know, my problems aren't their problems. You just get on with it. So that was my take on that. So anyway, yeah, the first pizza job, I feel like I've just lost my job. This one, I don't know what's going to happen. I I just don't get a good vibe from it. And I think moving forward, like I say, due to the gradual expense of the wear and tear on the vehicle that I'm going to have to deal with, I can't see this lasting longer than a few months. You know, maybe 3 months, 6 months, maybe as much as a year. But at some point, I'd like to do something different. But is there opportunity out there? I don't know. In my experience, no. You know, let's just say in the last month, I've applied for 30 other jobs that suit my skill set more. I can't even get an interview. And these aren't for real high paying jobs. These are for junior jobs, which I feel require less skill, knowledge and experience than I have. I just can't get an interview. And like I say, this is despite, you know, tailoring what I think is probably the most optimal CV. And it sounds like I'm moaning and complaining and all this stuff, but yeah, okay, well maybe I am, but then also maybe that's because life is fucking shit and things are really fucking difficult. And I feel like sometimes that's what you need to do. I feel like I've got a right to just voice my opinion and say when things are difficult, when they're actually difficult. And the thing is, it's not like I'm just complaining and then just gonna cry into a pillow, although that would be quite tempting. Like I say, with this one job where they basically stopped giving me shifts, you know, I still went away, looked for an alternative, and now have an alternative lined up. So, and like I said, I'm not willing to work on a Saturday for my own personal reasons, and I'm still working on a Saturday. So, I'm doing what's asked of me and more, but the lack of opportunity that there is out there is just shocking. I'd like to hope that situation would change in the future, but who knows? So